Picture yourself on a plane cruising miles above the earth when masked gunmen suddenly burst into the cabin, weapons raised. Order collapses in an instant. Screams echo. Flight attendants shake, and harsh commands cut through the air. Terror spreads from row to row. Yet in the middle of the chaos, one woman does something no one expects. She doesn't scream or freeze.
No.
She remains perfectly calm, eyes alert, breathing slow and controlled. To everyone around her, she's just another passenger. No one knows she carries a secret that will decide the fate of everyone on board. What she's about to do will stun the world and etch her name into history. At 34,000 feet, Flight 782 sliced through the clouds like a silver blade crossing the Atlantic. For most travelers, it was an ordinary journey, families chatting softly, business travelers tapping at laptops, children gazing out the windows. But hidden among them were men carrying far more than bags. They carried rage, guns, and a deadly plan. It began with a scream. A flight attendant staggered back as a man in a dark jacket shoved her aside, his face hidden behind a scarf. He yanked a gun from under his coat and shouted for everyone to sit down. Within seconds, 3 more armed men appeared, yelling in different languages. Panic slammed into the cabin. Mothers pulled children close. Passengers froze with hands raised. Fear became almost tangible. From the cockpit, Captain Reynolds spoke over the intercom, urging calm, but even his experienced voice trembled. The cabin, through the security feed, he suddenly noticed something unusual. Near row 14, a woman sat completely still. While others cried or pleaded, she looked focused, as if this moment had been waiting for her. Her name was Elena Torres. To the world, she appeared unremarkable, a woman in her mid-30s, wearing jeans and a loose sweater, hair tied back. But beneath that ordinary appearance was a past few would ever know. Elena had once been an intelligence operative, trained in counterterrorism, deception, and survival. She had walked away from that life years earlier, fading into anonymity. After missions that never made headlines, now fate had dragged her back into a battlefield suspended in the sky. The hijackers' leader shouted orders to change course and head east, his gun catching the dim cabin light. The crew complied. Passengers whispered prayers and sobbed quietly. Elena's heart stayed steady as her mind worked. She watched every movement, every habit. She noticed the leader's arrogance, the silent guard at the back, and the youngest hijackers shaking hands. Fear, she realized, was already cracking them from the inside. Her first move wasn't physical, it was psychological. She softened her posture, lowered her eyes, and blended into the background. Panic draws attention. Calm lets you disappear. She had no weapon and no backup, only patience and training. Hours dragged by. The hijackers demanded fuel stops, threatening lives if they weren't obeyed. On the ground, governments scrambled. Fighter jets tracked the plane from a distance. News alerts flashed across screens worldwide as families waited in dread. Through it all, Elena stayed silent, waiting. Then the mistake happened. The youngest hijacker was sent to watch the passengers. His gun wavered as he tried to look intimidating. When he leaned close to threaten an elderly man, Elena saw his grip slip. Fear was eating him alive. She leaned just enough to whisper, calm and steady, that he didn't have to do this. His eyes flicked toward her, startled. He snapped at her. To be quiet, but doubt had already taken root. She withdrew, letting guilt and fear work on him. She knew words could cut deeper than knives. The leader sensed something wrong and barked at his men, but the cracks were already there. When the plane descended to refuel at a remote airstrip, tensions snapped tight. Negotiators stalled. The hijackers screamed. In the confusion, Elena leaned toward the young man again and murmured that his own leaders would discard him, that helping her was his only way out. His hands shook violently as fear and desperation collided. Finally, he whispered back, asking what he should do. That was the opening she needed. Through him, she learned where the weapons were hidden, how shifts rotated, and when vigilance dropped. Every detail was a lifeline. The final clash came after midnight, high above the ocean. The leader had grown careless, convinced terror had crushed any resistance. Passengers sagged in exhaustion. Alina, however, was fully awake. She nodded too. The young man stumbled forward and dropped his gun as if by accident. The leader spun around in rage. That single heartbeat changed everything. Alina sprang into motion, smashing her elbow into a terrorist's wrist and sending the weapon skidding away. Shocked gasps filled the cabin. She struck with ruthless precision, throat, arm balance gone in seconds. Another attacker rushed her, but she slammed a seatbelt buckle into his face. The cabin turned into chaos again, but this time it was controlled. Swift, decisive, unstoppable. Within minutes, 2 hijackers lay unconscious. Another was restrained by passengers who found their courage. The leader fought desperately, but Alina kicked his gun away and locked him into a chokehold until his struggles faded. Then there was silence. Relief crashed through the cabin as sobs turned to cheers. Crew members secured the remaining threats. In the cockpit, Captain Reynolds spoke with awe, announcing they were safe thanks to one woman. When the plane landed under military escort, the world was already watching. Cameras crowded the runway. Headlines screamed about the mysterious woman who saved the flight. Survivors called her a miracle. The young hijacker who helped her was taken into custody, looking at her with something like gratitude for sparing his life. Elena Torres vanished soon after, slipping away from the spotlight, refusing interviews. She never wanted fame. For her, it had always been about one thing: saving lives when no one else could, and so the story spread. A woman who stayed calm when everyone else panicked. A passenger who turned terror into defeat. A hero whose courage at 34,000 feet saved hundreds of lives and stunned the world. If you had been on that plane, what would you have done? Would you have stayed calm, or would fear have taken control? Share your thoughts, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories of courage, survival, and the strength of the human spirit.